Hi everyone, I deeply apologize for the glitches on YouTube live streaming and I hope this video makes up for it. And please remember, I'm here to clarify all your doubts and queries that you could have potentially dropped on YouTube live chat. Please feel free to drop it in the comment or you can mail it to me on the ID that's given on the call for paper as well. So without much delay, let me get to the point. The idea of the video is to give you an awareness about what is expected in the call for chapter for Springer Nature book on climate conscious legal education. The idea of the video is an awareness video alone, and this is as it is the first video, we would definitely have more interactions coming along about this book. So, giving you an introduction about myself, I'm Dr. Rhea Mammen, a postdoctoral fellow at Van Vollen Institute, working on the topic Law Schools Respond to Climate Change. And as part of this, we've had a couple of workshops, interactions, and since it's particularly looking at the Netherlands and an attempt to look at India, we have also established the Indo-Dutch Research Center on Climate Change Law Education and Research at Government Law College of Ernakulam. Now, during the process of developing this book, we cannot diminish the work and the effort that Indo Dutch is putting in, and really appreciate for all that they have worked, and also for Van Woolen Institute for the support they've given. Again, go without any further delay, I'm going into the content of what we're looking at here. The idea is that we open this book for call for chapters, and we have limited space for these chapters as we have predefined authors while submitting to Springer for its approval. Some of the the proposal has been pre-approved, we do not have to wait further for an approval, rather wait for a review. So the idea I request the authors or the prospective authors to keep in mind is the book is with a purpose, and we request all of you to kindly comply and align your abstract and the final paper to the outline of the book. To give you a background of this work, it is to understand and emphasize the role of law schools and legal education institutions in preparing lawyers to tackle climate change. It is important to understand that it's not sufficient to an environment law as a paper or climate law as a standalone paper. Climate law gets its full benefit only if it's integrated with the other legal discipline. And with the purpose of breaking this silence, we have developed the book project to make sure it becomes a manual and ensure that this is available to faculty, educators, and students to understand climate law in its holistic view and implement it likewise. Therefore, the focus is to look at the teaching methodology, curriculum, and cultivate climate conscious lawyers. This project is also inspired by the existing project in Australia on climate conscious lawyering. Going into the project goal, the book has a normative approach with the evolving curriculum of law schools to integrate climate change as mainstream in legal education. The entire purpose here is this cannot be done alone or in silos. It's important that we all work on this together and we hold hands so that we bring the best out of it through each of our expertise. Now, each of this chapter, you will notice that is taking into consideration diverse field of legal disciplines. The idea here is that irrespective of what your background is, all of us are climate change activists and climate conscious legal professionals. Do you have a background in trade law or contract, medical, child, AI, you name it, climate will inevitably be a part of it. It is therefore important that your paper looks at the cross disciplinary element of your subject expertise and climate change law. So, what are we looking through this book? Or how do we expect the chapters to be? The first and the most important part is the interconnection between two disciplines. Say you have an expertise in constitution, it's important that you establish the correlation between constitution and climate change or trade and climate change. What is the interconnection and what has been the academic discourse in this regard? that the academic and jurisprudential connection is established through the literatures existing and how you perceive the area to be. Now, remember, as this is not a traditional academic paper, it's not sufficient that you or the authors focus just on academic discourse. The focus must be to look at how can we translate the existing curriculum to suit it. So you would have to identify if there's an existing curriculum in this regard. Do you have specific institutions that's already following it? If so, what are the advantages and what is missing? Then bring about what is that must be included into this learning. This would definitely focus on the teaching methodology, case laws, the research materials, reference materials, sources, you name it, all of them all encompass. So there it comes to our second important factor about classroom examples and the case studies that must be included into it. So this must take into consideration the existing cases globally, India specific, however you choose it. Take it into account, give it as an example that needs to be taken up in the classrooms. It's also important to note that, unlike in the Netherlands, not all institutions in India enjoy an autonomy. Therefore, we or the institutions are obliged to go by a curriculum set out by a university. Therefore, I would definitely encourage teachers from that specific stream, teachers working in traditional college, to come forward and share your ideas. Where and how you can engage with specific modules. It is at this point very relevant to point out it would be great if educators from different types of institutions can collaborate. So, private university faculty who enjoy certain level of autonomy with a traditional college faculty who doesn't, so that you can bring in the best and the normative approach about what are the kind of case laws or modules that must be included into it. Thereafter, what we need to look at is what are the engagements that you want to include into the learning practice. This could be a specific assignment associated, a moot court associated, a drafting associated. How do you want to implement it? What are the suggestions that you would want to put across? How would you define the learning outcomes? All that together be brought in. This could be questions. What are the questions that could be posed? How would you raise these consideration into these classrooms? Thereafter, we will look at the potential question that should be taken up. It could be a newspaper clipping, something that's new, something that's old of existing practice, and likewise. But what is most important is a reflective exercise to see how you're evaluating the students of the exercises based on the exercise and interaction that you've made to ensure they've got the grip of such intersectionality. So, with these few components as an overarching structure, it's important that the writers keep in mind that they do this as a support or a material that can be referred to a larger crowd, not just in India but globally. Therefore, try to include mechanisms and as many practices as possible within, of course, the word limit prescribed, so that the readers are encouraged to try and practice it. Please do not forget to include the sources, what your reference material has been, and likewise. Of course, at the moment we have restricted co-authorship to two, but in situations where you're able to say that it would bring in much more effect to have more authors and effective work, we'll be happy to consider. With this overview, let me make a statement here that as this is just the first video, let's start discussing and talking about it. So those who intend to submit your abstract for consideration, kindly fill in the intent form before April 15th so that I may be able to share the outline of the book proposal approved by Springer, and you may align your abstract to it so that for your screening you have a better chance of having it selected. With this general overview, I'm concluding today's session so that you have a platform or a foundation to start working on. Of course, this is simply a foundation, and looking forward to more opportunity to interact with you on this specific area. Till then, stay tuned and please do not forget to subscribe.